All right, guys, here we go. Today we're going to talk about roasting a whole baby pig. Probably one of my favorite summer activities to do. It's absolutely delicious and a crowd pleaser. Feeds quite a few people. This was a 20-pound baby pig. I ordered it from a butcher in downtown Chicago. Typically, you take the live weight and divide it in half. That's how many adults you could easily feed off of this. And this one did not disappoint. We had a pretty good sized party, and there was meat left over as always. So you could see here, I'm injecting the pig with salt and water. It's a brine solution. It's about a liter of water to about a quarter cup, third of a cup of salt. And the reason I do this is because when you salt this pig, you want to salt it at least 12 hours before you're going to throw it on the spit. When you salt it, it draws a lot of moisture out of the meat. By brining or using the brine solution and injecting, you're adding water to the animal. So when you cut the meat up, number one, it's more tender, but number two, it's more juicy than if you just salted it. So I will put a little bit of additional salt on top of it, but I want to hit all the major muscles with some salty, briny water and then let it sit for 12 hours to let that salt penetrate into the animal and really give it a lot of flavor and a lot of juice. This pig was fantastic. So we picked up the pig. This was a Fourth of July roast. We picked up the pig the day before. I salted it up and put it back into the cooler and let it sit overnight, and then pulled it out the next day. The smaller the animal, so we picked up a 20-pound pig because they're just, number one, they cook a lot faster, but number two, they're just delicious. If you could get a 20-pound pig or up to 25, you're doing really good. 30 would be about the max. Anything beyond 30, it starts to get a little bit too fatty and just a little bit too big. It takes a long time to cook, and especially on an open spit like I have, it takes a little bit too long. If you have a closed spit, you could do it a little bit quicker. And in this case, I really wish I would have had a closed spit because this is a super windy day and it was a tough cook, but we got it done. So now I'm going to put the pig back into the bag, and it's going to go into my big cooler with a couple bags of ice. Let it sit overnight, and then in the morning we pulled it out. This is a two-man operation. You really need somebody else to help you here. But we loaded the baby pig onto the spit, and then I have to put a couple rods through it to secure it. Really, really important to secure the pig very, very well. You don't want this thing to be flopping around on the rod. So you want to get one rod in the back. You want to get the back quarters. You want to get one through the front, and then you want to get one through the middle. Especially on a pig this big, you don't need more than three. If it was a little bit of a bigger pig, you may want to put four through it. But with this size pig, three was more than enough. And always use cotton twine when you guys are tying this thing up. Anything else, I've seen guys use stainless steel wire and all sorts of other stuff. Nylon one time. Jesus, what's wrong with you? You never want to use anything other than cotton. Cotton will not burn. It will not shrink. It will not expand. Cotton will hold it good and tight. And it is the only thing that you should be tying your whole animal with when you're cooking it on the spit. So we got this thing tied up here. We put one through the front, through the cheek. We got one through the back. We're going to tie it up. And then I ended up putting one in the middle, and I did it perpendicular to the other two rods, which was a bit of a mistake. It just made it more cumbersome when we were trying to tie the rest of the pig off. I really should have just took my time, put it through the ribs, pushed it through the spine, and then through the other side of the ribs, and had all the rods running the same way. But not a big deal. The pig was good and tight, and it was just inconvenient for a few minutes. It wasn't the end of the world here. So you could see I also got a piece of plastic on the table. It's just so much easier to put a little piece of plastic on the table, peel it off, and rinse the table off than doing this on a regular table. You absolutely want to make sure that you don't contaminate any of the surfaces that you're working with. God forbid you have a party and somebody gets sick. So here we are. You could see I got the fire started, and I was running a little bit late, so I made a pretty big fire to start off with. And secondly, it was a really really windy day, so it made for a pretty tough cook. So I've got a couple logs on here too, some cherry wood that I use when I smoke wood. I'm sorry, when I smoke meat. And cherry wood I like in particular because it gives a nice mahogany color and a really good, pleasant smoky flavor to the meat. So cherry wood, apple wood, hickory obviously goes very well with pork. Here the pig's been cooking for about 2 hours at this point, and it looks really really nice. I'm pushing the fire underneath the pig a little bit too quickly, and you're going to see in the next picture the skin is going to crack. The last thing you want to do when you are cooking a pig like this is the last half hour. Right now, right about at this point, the last half hour, you want to shove a bunch of coals underneath it because this is the part where you're going to get the skin nice and crackly and crunchy. So shove a bunch of coals under there, keep an eye on it, and this is how you're going to get your skin crunchy. And that is absolutely essential when you're roasting a fantastic, delicious baby pig. There you go. That skin is ready to go for the most part. It was delicious, guys. Do it. This is the best thing you could do in the middle of the summer. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you next time.